Hey guys, it's Christian. For this video, I'm going to try something new. This is going to be kind of like a update video of our previous video I did called What the Future of Disney Star Wars Needs to Do. I kind of did the same format with my What Marvel Phase 5 Needs to Do with the update video for that, so I'm going to do the same one for this one, just because like all the shakeup that's been happening with Disney as far as like release dates and, you know, pushing movies and TV shows back or rearranging things. So with this one, I hope to update the information that I had from the previous video, just because I filmed that video back in like November, December, so a lot of the information is kind of either irrelevant or things have changed or new information has been brought up. So with this video, I just hope to update that. So I'll be playing my previous video and then chiming in occasionally with the new information that I've received, just so you can stay up to date with everything that's going on in the world of Star Wars. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Vision Season 2. So far, I just know that Lucasfilm is going to reach out to more countries like around the world, like India and the United Kingdom and Ireland and Chile. So it'd be really cool to see different animation styles besides the kind of Japanese animation that they did with Volume 1. I know I explained this a little bit in my previous video, but I haven't seen all of Star Wars Visions. I haven't seen every single episode, but the ones I have seen, like, I really enjoyed. But yeah, as far as, you know, Season 2 of Visions, you know, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see different animation styles, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. Hey, so just chiming in here. So for Volume 2 of Visions, I found out that the release date's actually going to be on May the 4th, and that there's going to be 9 episodes, and the titles have actually been released for the different episodes. And yeah, some of them are actually pretty interesting. There aren't really any like plot synopses for what the episodes are going to be about, but they do look interesting. Like one's called The Sith, one's called In the Stars, one's called I Am Your Mother. So yeah, I'm actually pretty excited for this season. Like, I wasn't the hugest fan of Visions. I liked a couple of the episodes, but it wasn't really like my thing. But with this season, I'm hoping that just based on these titles that we'll get some interesting stories, and the fact that we're getting new countries and new animation styles for it, I think it could be really cool. So yeah, I'm actually pretty excited for it. Hey, so as of this recording, the new trailer for Vision Season 2 actually just dropped at Star Wars Celebration in Europe, and it actually looks really good. You know, it just displays all the different animation styles from all the different countries, and it looks like there's definitely going to be like a lot of variation in tone. There's going to be like a lot of new characters and worlds and storylines, and yeah, it looks like, you know, there's like comedy one moment and drama the next moment. There's like hardcore like anime style, there's like stop motion animation, there's like Aardman style studio animation as well. So yeah, I'm actually really excited for this season. Hey, I might even like watch all the episodes. So just with the different variety of animation styles and the variety of tones, I think this could be a really good season. So yeah, I'm actually excited for May the 4th, and I'm excited to binge watch this miniseries. All right, and then we move on to Young Jedi Adventures. Apparently it's going to be more for like a preschool, elementary age audience. So I'm probably not going to be like first in line to see it or anything. You know, apparently it's going to be about, you know, a group of like younglings during like the High Republic era, and they're going to be learning about, you know, friendship and, you know, compassion and caring and everything. So yeah, I think it could be a good show for like little kids. You know, maybe it'll explain more of like the High Republic era, just because I know that that's kind of where Disney Star Wars is kind of putting their focus on now. Is like this High Republic era, you know, set like 1,000 years before, you know, a Phantom Menace, which yeah, I think can be really cool. And then we'll kind of get to it later with a couple other shows, but I know a lot of other shows kind of tie into the High Republic, so maybe there'll be like little Easter eggs here and there, but yeah, probably very subtle ones. But yeah, I think it could be a really good show, you know, yeah, for little kids. Like I said before, you can teach kids about the different lessons that these younglings are being taught about. You know, maybe there'll be some tie-ins to like the overall Star Wars galaxy, you know, whether they be like, you know, little hints here and there, or just stuff that'll help, you know, the kids, you know, kind of learn more about the Star Wars lore, just so that when they get older and they kind of watch the other shows and movies, they'll kind of have more of like a background of like what they need to know and everything. But yeah, I'm hoping that that's kind of what they're kind of leading towards moving forward. Hey, just chiming in again. So for Young Jedi Adventures, I found out that we actually have a release date for it. It's going to be April 26th on Disney Plus and on Disney Junior. And yeah, it's definitely going to be geared more towards younger kids, but they're hoping that they kind of bring in the large Star Wars audience with it. And we also got confirmation on the actual characters. Looks like there's going to be at least like 3 Jedi younglings. Jedi Master Yoda is going to be in it. There's going to be like a pilot, and then there's going to be a droid friend for the younglings. So I actually found out that a couple of shorts are actually available online, and I watched some of them, and it, you know, it looked kind of cute. It's still, I don't think it's really my thing, something I'm not really going to clamor for, but I really do think, you know, like little kids who really don't know anything about Star Wars will really appreciate this show. And, you know, parents who are in love with Star Wars, maybe this can be like their entry point into it. But I can definitely see the appeal of, you know, how it could bring in a next generation of Star Wars fans. So yeah, we'll see how the rest of the series goes. But yeah, back to the video. All right, now we move on to Ahsoka, and this one's probably like my most anticipated show, just because, you know, I love the character of Ahsoka ever since Clone Wars. From the movie, you know, she wasn't like my favorite character at first. I think a lot of people kind of agreed. But then as the show went on, she, matured, and, she became really like a fan favorite. And then, I'm glad that by the end of like the Clone Wars season, they kind of wrapped up her storyline. I said this before in like my other video, but when Disney bought Lucasfilm, they canceled Clone Wars because it was on Cartoon Network, which belonged to Warner Brothers, and they put it on Netflix for a little bit to kind of give like the lost episodes. But I'm glad that once Disney bought Lucasfilm, they brought Dave Filoni back on board, and they allowed him to finish off the season and kind of wrap up Ahsoka's storyline, in the best way possible. Because like literally that whole season 7 story arc, I said it before in like my last video, but that whole like last 4 episodes were incredible. And really kind of set the stage for like Ahsoka's character later on. Then obviously we get her more in like Rebels, which she was great in that. When she came up in season 2, where it was revealed that she was Fulcrum the whole time, and then she kind of weaves in and out of that show, and then by the end you kind of get that little tease of her and Sabine teaming up to actually find Ezra and find Thrawn, just because they launched into hyperspace into parts unknown of the galaxy at the end of that, and now it's kind of the whole search for him. And then when she popped up in season 2 of Mandalorian, and then kind of talked to the Bo staff woman, and she's like, "Where is Thrawn?" And I remember when I watched that episode, and I was like, "Oh shoot!" I was already like mind blown just seeing her in live action, because Rosario Dawson is like an incredible actress. At first, I thought it was going to be Ashley Eckstein who was going to be live action Ahsoka, but it was Rosario Dawson, which was totally fine. So it was cool to see her in that, just interacting with Mando and talking about Grogu. And talking about connections with like Luke Skywalker and Anakin Skywalker, obviously. So I'm really excited to see that. But I'm excited with the show that they're going to kind of continue the storyline that they left off with the search for Thrawn and the search for Ezra. One, we got confirmation that Ezra's going to be in the show, so it's going to be cool to see him in live action, and like the picture of the actor who's playing Ezra, looks just like him. So I know the actor who played Aladdin in the live action version of Aladdin was kind of fan casted to do it, but I'm glad that they got this new actor to do it because he looks just like Ezra. And when I saw them, I'm like, oh shoot, like that's like literally perfect casting. So I'm excited to see that. Yeah, one of the things I'm really excited to see is possible flashbacks with Anakin Skywalker. Either flashbacks of Anakin Skywalker or Force Ghost Anakin Skywalker, just because now we know that Hayden Christensen is confirmed to be in Ahsoka, which makes total sense. So it really just depends on like how he's going to portray Anakin Skywalker in this show. Like if it is flashbacks, I think that would be really incredible, just because I talked about this in Obi-Wan, but that whole flashback to young Obi-Wan and young Anakin from the Attack the Clones era of Star Wars was like really amazing. And like I said this before, but I thought they were going to have like a whole episode dedicated to like a flashback of seeing young Obi-Wan and young Anakin. So yeah, it'd be really cool to see flashbacks of young Anakin with young Ahsoka. Maybe they're training, maybe we see Ahsoka, kind of seeing hints of Anakin, leaning towards the dark side. So we'll see what happens with that. But if it's a Force Ghost, I think that would be cool too. The rumors back in the day in like the Last Jedi era, when that film was being in production, that like, oh shoot, did Rian Johnson secretly hire Hayden Christensen to make a cameo as a Force Ghost? And going back to like Force Awakens, where it's like, well, the question was like, why didn't Force Ghost Anakin show up to Kylo and say like I'm a Force Ghost, I was redeemed at the end of Return of the Jedi, like you don't have to follow my footsteps of when I was Darth Vader. I guess either Kylo wasn't powerful enough to communicate with Force Ghosts, or like maybe the Emperor clone was so powerful that he can cut off connections between Jedi and Force Ghosts and everything. So that was kind of a bummer to see that. And then with Rise of Skywalker, we were supposed to get a bunch of Force Ghosts coming back at the end, but I guess because in China, like they're kind of weary about seeing ghosts in movies, so they kind of cut all that out, and they just kind of had like the voiceovers of all the ghosts, and we got a little bit of a voiceover from Hayden Christensen. But it would have been cool to see a bunch of Force Ghosts backing up Rey and taking on the Emperor clone and everything, because apparently Force Ghosts can grab onto objects. So as we saw with Rey throwing a lightsaber and Luke Skywalker catching it, and it's like, a Jedi's weapon deserves more respect. So yeah, that would have kind of been a missed opportunity. But anyway, yeah, back to Ahsoka. So yeah, I'm excited to see Hayden Christensen, whatever iteration Dave Filoni decides that he should be in. I think he might lean towards flashbacks, just because he obviously created Clone Wars, so it'd be cool to see more flashbacks with young Anakin and young Ahsoka. But I mean, if it is a Force ghost, then I think that could still be really cool as well. Yeah, I'm also excited to see kind of like the relationship that forms between Ahsoka and Sabine. Yeah, just because the casting for Sabine, like, she looks incredible. She looks just like the animated version of Sabine, and kind of see how their relationship forms. And like, apparently, the footage hasn't been released, but I know like there's footage shown at, I think, either Star Wars Celebration or D23 that shows like the back of Hera's head. And then on the panel for Star Wars Celebration, Chopper kind of rolled out on stage. So obviously we're getting Hera, Syndulla, and Chopper, which would be really cool. And then that'd be also really cool if we got Zeb, get like a live action version of Zeb. I don't think if anything's been confirmed, but Dave Filoni obviously loves his characters from Rebels, so if he wants to kind of bring them in, I think that would be cool. Hey, just chiming in real quick. So as of this recording, I actually just watched the Mandalorian season 5 episode with live action Zeb, and he looked amazing. Like, when I saw him, it was just like kind of mind blowing seeing him in live action. So I'm hoping that we actually get to see him in the Ahsoka show, since, like I say earlier, Dave Filoni's bringing a lot of characters from Rebels, so why not bring in Zeb, since we already established him in this episode of Mandalorian. So I'm hoping they do that, but if not, then no harm, no foul. It was just cool seeing him in this really cool cameo. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, back to the video. And then seeing a little Jason, Harrison Dula, and Kanan's son, I think that'd be amazing as well. Yeah, it kind of brings that kind of Rebels love that me and like the rest of the fandom had, because that ending for Rebels, I said this in my last video, was just incredible. And it ended the series perfectly, but still kind of had those little loose ends that need to be tied up. And when that first happened, I was like, oh yeah, that'd be cool, fan fiction or something, or maybe they'll have a novel or a comic book. But the fact that they're gonna continue this storyline, in live action with official Ahsoka show with Dave Filoni at the helm, I'm really excited for it. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It's definitely one of my most anticipated shows, and with Dave Filoni at the helm, I feel like he's really gonna put lots of care into the show. He's going to treat the characters right. He's going to kind of give them all satisfying conclusions. And I think they said it's supposed to be just like a limited series. So I'm not sure how many episodes there are. I think there might be like eight episodes or something. So it's really just going to kind of be like a one and done, kind of wrap up these storylines that they kind of left us with at the end of Rebels. I'll probably get to this a little bit later, but apparently there's going to be kind of like a crossover event between like Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and Skeleton Crew. I think Kathleen Kennedy is trying to do like play the Marvel game of having this kind of like different storylines kind of come together, kind of like Kevin Feige did with Marvel, have this Avengers crossover film. I'm excited to see what'll happen, like I said before, with Dave Filoni at the helm, and then Jon Favreau helming Mando Season 3, and then John Watson, Christopher Ford helming Skeleton Crew, which I'll get to later on. I think this could be really, really cool, and, there can be a little bit more connection between the Star Wars movies, a little bit more continuity, just a little bit more consistency and quality, and, it seems like, they finally have a plan, because like what I was saying with my last video of the sequel trilogy of like not really having a plan. J.J. Abrams just kind of went with Force Awakens, and then Rian Johnson took that and just struck down our fan theories and everything, kind of went with his own idea, and then J.J. Abrams kind of had to come in and try to wrap things up the best he could. And I know there's an article out there of like Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger kind of confessing that they messed up with the sequel trilogy, and that they're hoping to actually have a plan moving forward to kind of more tie-in and connection, more continuity, which would have been good with the sequel trilogy, but oh well. But yeah, I'm just glad that moving forward, they're going to finally have a plan. So we'll see what happens with that. Hey, just jumping in again. So as of this recording, Star Wars Celebration is actually happening in Europe. And for one of the panels, they actually dropped the first Ahsoka trailer with confirmation of the release date. And it's actually going to come out in August of this year. So that's going to be really exciting. And, just speaking of the trailer, it looks amazing. I'm super excited for it. And August can't come quickly enough. We also got confirmation on a couple of the cast members. So it looks like Mary Elizabeth Winstead is actually going to be playing Hera. We also got a shot of Chopper in there, so that's confirmed. We also found out that Ray Stevenson is going to be playing a character named Balin. I'm not really quite sure who he's going to be. He looks like he's going to be some kind of Imperial, but has some kind of like lightsaber abilities, so I'm not really sure if he's going to be like an Inquisitor or some kind of dark side user or a Sith or something, but it looks like it's going to be really cool. And, just based on his lightsaber, it looks like it's more like an orange lightsaber, not necessarily red, so maybe he's some kind of like different faction of dark side users for for the kind of rising Empire. And speaking of the Empire, we actually got confirmation that Thrawn's going to be in it, of course. We just saw that shot in the trailer of him, you know, just like walking into the bridge of the Star Destroyer, kind of like the back of his head. But yeah, it was really cool to see him in live action in that little line that Ahsoka says of the heir to the Empire. So, you know, a little reference to the heir to the Empire Thrawn trilogy. So I'm glad that Dave is definitely, you know, picking pieces from the expanded universe that's now marked as Legends and making them canon again. So that's going to be really, really cool. We actually got confirmation that Lars Mikkelsen is actually going to be playing Grand Admiral Thrawn, and he was the original voice actor who played him in Rebels. So I'm glad that we finally actually get to see him in live action. You know, I made that prediction back in December that, hey, maybe he'll play the live action Thrawn. So I'm glad that that was actually confirmed. So yeah, I'm really excited to see it, and yeah, it should be good. And we also got confirmation that David Tennant is going to be playing the character of Hu Yang. He was a lightsaber crafting droid from the Clone Wars series. It was really cool seeing him in live action, so I'm definitely excited for that for sure. And we also got confirmation that Genevieve O'Reilly is going to be in it, and she played Mon Mothma in Revenge of the Sith and Rogue One and Andor, so it's really cool to see that kind of tie-in as well. It was cool seeing her, that little shot of her in the trailer. We also got confirmation that Diana Lee Inosanto is going to be in it, and she played the magistrate from season 2 of Mandalorian in the episode of the Jedi that Ahsoka appears in, so that's cool that she appears in as well, just to have that more of that tie-in. And an actress named Ivana Sakno, she's going to be playing a sort of apprentice to Balin's character, so I'm guessing she's going to be another kind of like dark side user, maybe another Inquisitor, maybe she'll be a Sith, you know, maybe this is kind of like the rising of the Sith that'll kind of lead us into the events of the sequel trilogies. So we'll see. All this is kind of speculation, but you know, I'm really excited for August, and that trailer looked incredible, and yeah, it just can't come soon enough. So yeah, we'll see what happens with it. All right, and now we move on to Skeleton Crew. For this one, I'm pretty excited for as well. Like when I first heard about it, I didn't really know too much about it. At first I thought it was going to be this like disparate band of rebels kind of going from, you know, place to place to place, you know, on these different missions and stuff. But actually going into it, like apparently it's going to be more of like 4 11 to 12-year-olds who are kind of lost in space, and either they're on the run from this kind of older character, like 30 to 40-year-old character, which Jude Law will play, or like he'll meet up with them and, you know, they'll kind of go on this adventure together and everything, which yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I was doing research into it, and now John Watts and Christopher Ford are going to be at the helm of it. And they said that they talked to Kathleen Kennedy that they kind of wanted to be like kind of like an 80s Amblin coming of age adventure story, kind of like the Goonies in space, which I thought was like really cool. You know, kind of like a different spin on Star Wars, where, you know, it's like it's all about the, you know, the wars and everything. Apparently the fake production title was like based on like an episode of The Simpsons, where like Bart Simpson and his friends are kind of on this road trip. They have like these fake IDs, and like they kind of go on this road trip, and, you know, things go wrong. So I can totally see that happening with this show, you know, because John Watts, like one of his movies, I haven't seen it, but it's called Cop Car. It's about these 2 teenagers who steal a cop car, and then Kevin Bacon, who's the cop, is like after them and everything. So it can kind of be like in that vein. So I'm not really sure how much it'll tie in, because apparently this is supposed to tie in with Mandalorian and Ahsoka. But since it takes place, you know, in that kind of Mandalorian Ahsoka time, I'm hoping that we kind of get more of like the post Return of the Jedi kind of reconstruction era, as we kind of saw with the Mandalorian. Like now, you know, with the Empire gone and like the rebellion kind of trying to reform the galaxy. So it's kind of like the Wild West, where, you know, there's no main government over the galaxy. So obviously like Mando is like the gunslinger character, you know, going into the bars and shooting people up and getting his bounty and stuff. So when we kind of explore more of that, you know, maybe they're like these 4 kind of young characters are kind of like on the fringes of society. Maybe they ran away from home or something. You know, they're kind of rebels themselves, not necessarily with the Alliance, but they're kind of like these rebellious kids. Maybe they steal like an Imperial ship or something, and they kind of get lost in space, and then like the Jude Law's character kind of goes after them, you know, because the Imperials are obviously after these 4 kids. So it can kind of be like a fun adventure story. Maybe they're after some kind of pirate treasure, kind of like in the Goonies, since that's what John Watts was inspired by to make this story. So yeah, I think it could be like a fun story. Then maybe like as the show goes on, it can kind of become more dark and more mature, and these characters can kind of meet up with Mando, you know, maybe at the end of Mandalorian season 3, kind of like what I was saying before, like to kind of open the door for like a bigger war going on between these different factions of Mandalorians. Maybe like the Empire is slowly but surely kind of building themselves up. You know, Moff Gideon can kind of be involved in that as well. And then, you know, these characters can kind of go from, you know, being people who like run away from the fight to kind of being brought into the fight, you know, kind of like Mando was, where at first he was in it for himself, and then obviously Grogu came into his life, and then, you know, he became like selfless, and then he eventually realized realize that, I can't be on the run. I really need to join this fight, get this kid with Luke Skywalker, kind of have that be the journey. And then now that we got those episodes with Book of Boba Fett, Mando and Grogu are kind of like a clan of two, and now with like Grief Karga and all these other characters kind of bring him into this bigger fight with the Mandalorians and with the Empire and everything. Now I'm hoping that season 3 is kind of like his arc to finally join in the fight, break free from the brainwashing that he had from the Armorer, and like join into the fight against the Imperials and Moff Gideon's faction and everything, and these skeleton crew characters can kind of be involved in all that. So I'm hoping that's kind of like the epic crossover event that we get that Kathleen Kennedy was hinting at later on. So we'll see. And obviously all this is speculation. We're not really confirmed about anything at this point. We just know the premise and like the inspiration. Maybe it won't be as tied in with these characters, but I'm hoping it will. So we'll see how that goes. Hey, jumping in again. So for Skeleton Crew, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Shiner, aka the Daniels, who directed Swiss Army Man and Everything Everywhere All at Once, are pegged to direct an episode of Skeleton Crew, which I'm actually really excited for because I loved both those movies. So yeah, I'm hoping that they kind of bring that kind of weird, crazy, interesting, heartfelt, hilarious style to one of the episodes, or maybe they'll direct multiple episodes, but right now they're just confirmed to just do one episode, which I think is totally fine, just because like John Watts and Christopher Ford are kind of like known for like their kind of like comedy, weird, oddball kind of humor and all that. They did like Clown and Cop Car, which I haven't seen, which I explained in the video, but I loved Spider-Man Home Trilogy, so there's a lot of like humor and heart in that. So I'm hoping that they kind of bring that more into the Skeleton Crew series, especially with the Daniels on board. I think it can be really good. So yeah, I'm hoping that they stay on board and that they make something great. So yeah, we'll see. I also found out that a director named David Lowery is actually going to be directing an episode as well. And he did a lot of stuff like Peach Dragon and the upcoming Peter Pan and Wendy. He also directed like Ghost Story and Green Knight, and just based on his tone, he's kind of like in that fantasy realm, like children discovering some kind of like fantasy, or he's very like visual. He has a lot of like fantastical elements within his stories. So I'm guessing that he'll bring a lot of that to Skeleton Crew, especially since the premise is a bunch of kids exploring the galaxy and stuff like that. So yeah, I really think he'll bring that kind of Goonies vibe. Maybe he'll have some more of like the serious episodes, just based on like Peach Dragon, the tone they set with that one. So yeah, maybe it'll start like more like comedic with like the Daniels when they're doing it, and then kind of slowly become more mature with David's episode. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm excited that they're bringing on these kind of like different filmmakers for Skeleton Crew, and yeah, it just gets me more excited for it. Yeah, hopefully we'll get more of a release date for it. But yeah, right now just the announcement with these different directors is getting me excited. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We've also got some updates with the casting. Apparently Jude Law is going to be playing some kind of Jedi. We also got confirmation on the actors for the kid characters. The first one is Ravi Kabat Conyers. The next one is Kiriana Crater. And the last one is Robert Timothy Smith. We also got confirmation on the fourth child character. His name is Ryan Kira Armstrong. We also got confirmation on the 2 adult characters. One is Tunde Andabimpe. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. And the next one is Carrie Condon. And I'm assuming that they'll probably be like the parent characters, either that or maybe they'll be like antagonists who are after the kids while they're on their journey. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully we'll get some more casting announcements of the characters that they'll be playing. Apparently there was a trailer that dropped at Star Wars Celebration, and there's been some descriptions of it, and it definitely seems like it'll be Goonies in space, where the kids are kind of like on this planet where it seems it's kind of described as like suburban and everything like that, and they kind of go off on this adventure, and the parents return and they say that the kids are missing. So it looks like they're going to meet up with Jude Law's character, who reveals himself to be a Jedi, and he's probably going to be like protecting them, as like they're kind of like lost in space and all that. So we'll see how it goes. They haven't dropped the trailer just yet, so I can't really judge it too much. I can only kind of judge it based on the descriptions, but I mean, it looks like it'll be some kind of like fun space adventure, lost in space type show. So I think it could be really good. We also got confirmation on a couple of directors that'll be directing a couple of the episodes. There's Jake Schreier, and he directed a movie called The Robot and Frank, which I haven't seen, but just from clips I've seen, it looks like with his episode he'll have like a very much like sci-fi kind of like endearing kind of like character moments and everything like that. So I think that could be really good. Bryce Dallas Howard and Lee Isaac Chung are actually going to be directors as well, and they directed a couple episodes of The Mandalorian. Bryce Dallas Howard directed one of the Mandalorian episodes that weren't really that good, episode 6. But other than that, she's directed some really, really good episodes of Mandalorian, so I'm actually really excited for it. We still haven't gotten a confirmation confirmation on when it's actually supposed to be released just yet, but hopefully we'll get that soon. Maybe sometime after Ahsoka's released, maybe we'll get a little teaser of Skeleton Crew that'll kind of lead into the expected date for Skeleton Crew, and hopefully it'll come out maybe like November or December of this year, but it's still scheduled to come out sometime in 2023, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, definitely still excited for Skeleton Crew, and yeah, hopefully we get the trailer released and get more confirmation on who the characters are that these actors are playing, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, definitely excited for Skeleton Crew. All right, and now we move on to the Acolyte. And for this one, like kind of like what I was saying with Young Jedi Adventures, like this is going to be tied into the High Republic, which I'm pretty excited about. I don't know too much about the High Republic. I know it's going to be kind of more tied into like books and video games, and then like the future of Disney Star Wars is kind of tie into the High Republic a little bit more. But I know with this one, this is kind of be more about like the mysteries of the dark side and everything, which I think can be really cool. I read up on Leslie Headland, the creator of this show, how she kind of wanted to kind of get more into like how did the dark side form, after all the Sith were wiped out and the kind of the Jedi kind of rose to power, how did they infiltrate the Senate, how did Palpatine kind of shroud himself in mystery so that the Jedi wouldn't be aware of like what was going on. And I was just kind of explore those themes of like the Jedi are kind of like above it all. Like she was saying that they're gonna be wearing like white and gold uniforms, and like they're kind of like above the peasants and everything. They're kind of like in their high ivory tower, their high Jedi temple and everything, and they don't kind of really associate. So she kind of wanted to explore like why are they like this? Why are they kind of so blinded to the conflict that's going on? So I'm hoping that we kind of see more of like kind of like the Jedi history. This whole kind of battle that went on previously before the events of Phantom Menace, how the Sith were extinct for over a millennium, and kind of explore kind of like this arrogance that the Jedi have when it comes to that, like, oh, we're so high and mighty, like there's no way that a Sith can kind of be under our nose and kind of infiltrate the Senate. So yeah, I'm excited to see more of that. And for this one, I know this is going to be like more of like a female-centric show. I know we're getting Ahsoka, but she was kind of like a previously established character. Well, this one is like a character that's completely brand new. The main character is going to be played by Amanda Stenberg. I haven't seen a lot of her films or TV shows, but I know like I've seen her in like Hunger Games and a couple other movies here and there. I think she's a great actress, so I think she could be really cool to pull off this role, just be this kind of completely brand new character. Because we haven't really had like a female-centric like at least TV show. Like we've had like the movies and stuff, but at least for like the TV shows, we haven't really had it. And I think, it'd be good to get more like the female, like casual fans. Obviously there's plenty of female fans for Star Wars, but get kind of like those casual fans who aren't really in it. Like my wife, for example, is not really into Star Wars as much. Like she's seen some of the movies, but she's not super into it. But I think like this show could be really cool for her to see. Something that's like completely new, doesn't really have to do with the Skywalker saga, completely new character and, completely new storyline. So maybe this can kind of be her entry point into getting into Star Wars. So yeah, maybe it can actually be pretty good. I was reading more articles about like Leslie Headland, the director of the show, and she like kind of grew up, playing Star Wars RPGs and kind of like writing Star Wars fan fiction and watching all the movies and when they were being released. So it's like, so obviously she's a very passionate fan of Star Wars. I was reading that for her writer's room, she kind of had a mixture of different writers where like she had writers who were like super into Star Wars, some who were kind of like more casual fans, and then some who were like didn't know Star Wars at all. So I think that could be interesting, having those different perspectives where like people who haven't really seen Star Wars as much, but they they care about characters and storylines and stuff that works. So I think that can be interesting, having a good mix of that, just having her at the helm of everything. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. We haven't really seen too much. There's not really too much information out there. We've got the cast, and the cast looks incredible. I know Manny Jacinto's in there, and he's from The Good Place, which is one of my favorite shows of all time. So it'd be cool to see him in a Star Wars show. And then they have the actor from Squid Game, which I haven't seen, but obviously that's getting all this critical acclaim and breaking records for viewership for Netflix. They have like Daphne Keane from Logan, which I loved. Carrie-Anne Moss from Matrix. So I think this could be a really good show. Yeah, and I guess speaking of which, I know they're going to kind of lean into like the martial arts side of Star Wars. Like I was reading before, like Leslie was kind of reading into, the inspirations for Star Wars, how, George Lucas was inspired by all these different samurai films, especially like Akira Kurosawa. So I think that could be really cool. And then she was watching different movies and different samurai films to kind of get inspiration for the Acolyte. So, and then obviously there's going to be a lot of like Asian actors in the Acolyte. So I think that could be really cool as well to kind of bring that into it, because we've kind of seen kind of like hints of it in different movies and shows ever since Disney bought Lucasfilm. But it'd be kind of cool to see like more of like a show that's really kind of more influenced by martial arts, just because that was like one of the biggest inspirations for George Lucas when he was kind of creating Star Wars. It was Akira Kurosawa was like his mentor. So it'd be kind of cool to see a show that kind of like really leans into that. And I know this is also going to be like, kind of like an action mystery thriller. So it'd be kind of cool to see like more of like the lore side of Star Wars, kind of see like the underbelly of it all. Just because, I know like we were supposed to get that with like Star Wars Underworld when George Lucas was developing that. We never got to see that. I know they kind of hinted at that with like Book of Boba Fett and a little bit with Mandalorian, but it'd be kind of cool to see like the seedy underbelly of like what's going on, where Amanda Stenberg's character and her mentor are kind of like, trying to solve these mysteries, all these crimes going on. Maybe we'll kind of get kind of like a Blade Runner type thriller where they're trying to figure out like how the Sith are kind of reforming, how the dark side is kind of reforming, kind of get more tie-ins like, the High Republic side, and then maybe, get some hints of like what's to come later on, maybe get some like Darth Plagueis tie-ins, Darth Bane, Sith origins and whatnot. So yeah, I think this could be like a really cool show. And also Leslie Headland's going to be, drawing on aspects from the expanded universe. As we all know, when Disney bought Lucasfilm, they moving forward with Force Awakens, they didn't want to have the creators kind of be bogged down by all this lore from all these different like books and comics and TV shows that we got back in the day after Revenge of the Sith, and even before that, of all this kind of like post Return of the Jedi storylines and everything. So everything was all kind of marked as like legends, nothing's really canon. Gratefully, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, especially Dave Filoni, has been kind of drawing aspects from the expanded universe and putting it into their shows and making it canon again. So I'm glad that Leslie's kind of doing that. So hoping that we get more like Darth Plagueis stuff with that. So we'll see, maybe just like a little hints and stuff and actually make it more canon, just because he was mentioned in Revenge of the Sith. And then all of our fan theories before when Force Awakens was about to be released was like, is Rey holding Darth Plagueis' staff? Is that voiceover by Andy Serkis? Before we knew he was Snoke, is he going to be Darth Plagueis and all this stuff? So yeah, hopefully we'll get more of that in the Acolyte, but we'll see. From this point moving forward, like a lot of like the movies and shows that I'll be talking about like been kind of like TBA as far as release dates. So we'll see when it happens. Like I'm guessing it'll probably be like 2024 or something, because they're in the middle of filming. So I'm guessing they'll probably wrap up by like early next year, and then be in post-production, and then maybe like early 2024 we'll get the show. So we'll see how it goes. Like I'm hoping that it's good, but yeah, we'll see. Hey, just jumping in again. So actually looks like we got some more confirmations about the Acolyte, and it seems like Leslie Headland was kind of pitching it as Frozen meets Kill Bill, where it's told from the bad guy's point of view, where like the villains are very much outnumbered by the Jedi. This is supposed to be like the High Republic, so it's supposed to be like the reign of the Jedi. So we'll see how that all kind of plays out, how those kind of two titles kind of mash together. But I think this could be really, really interesting. We also got confirmation on more of the casting. Looks like Amanda Stenberg and Lee Jung-jae are going to be playing Jedi. Amanda's going to be playing a Padawan, or a former Padawan, and then Lee is going to be playing like a Jedi Master. Apparently there's footage of like him kind of like leading like a whole charge of Jedi, so maybe he'll be kind of like, I guess, this version of like Yoda in a way, kind of like the head of the Jedi Council. We also got confirmation on Daphne Keane, Charlie Bennett, Junice Suetomo are going to be playing Jedi as well, whether alien or human. And we also got confirmation on Rebecca Henderson and Carrie-Anne Moss playing Jedi Masters as well. Rebecca Henderson will be playing the character of Vernestra Rowe. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Apparently she's a character from the High Republic book series, which I haven't read, but apparently she's a fan favorite. So I'm glad that a lot of people who are fans of the High Republic book series get to see her in live action. So yeah, that'd be really cool to see her there. Just based on the interviews that they had at Star Wars Celebration, it seems like there's really going to be a lot of like power struggles and power dynamics going on with this show. And another actress named Jodie Turner-Smith, she wasn't really confirmed on playing a Jedi, but apparently she's going to be playing like some kind of powerful leader in this story. So I'm guessing that she's going to be a Sith. I think she's probably going to be like the main antagonist in this show, and maybe she has her own Padawan learner that she's teaching teaching, and they're going to be going up against Amanda and Lee's character, and there's going to be like this huge epic battle. They showed footage during the celebration of like a golden lightsaber and like just clashes between all these Jedi. So yeah, I mean, I think this could be a really good show. It's going to be 8 episodes, and they're still filming it. They're supposed to be wrapping next month, so I'm guessing there's going to be probably like a year of post-production, and maybe we'll get this May the 4th of 2024. So yeah, I think it'd be good. I'm really excited, just based on what all these actors are saying. It's going to be a very action-oriented show, very much like martial arts inspired, Akira Kurosawa inspired show. So yeah, I think it could be really, really good. And again, like I kind of said with Skeleton Crew, I'm hoping that they show a little bit more footage. Hopefully we'll get a new trailer, maybe sometime like next month or something, or even on May the 4th, just showing what this show is going to be all about. And yeah, I'm actually pretty excited for it. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right, now we move on to Andor Season 2. And if you've watched my previous videos, I did explain that I really enjoyed Season 1. Obviously there was like episodes that were kind of slow, some episodes that there wasn't really much happening in it. So I'm hoping that with Season 2 they kind of pick up the pace, and it looks like they will. I was reading that originally they had a plan for like 5 seasons, and then by the Tony Gilroy was saying that it's impossible. It's like the production's like impossible to do, just because just based on Season 1, like they go on location, they have all these amazing sets and production value and everything. So sustaining that for 4 more seasons was kind of impossible. So they're kind of cramming 4 seasons, or I guess 4 years worth of material into one, which I think is pretty cool. I know some people who like the slower pace of Season 1 will probably be a little jarring for them, but at least for us, me and like other hardcore Star Wars fans, kind of want to see more like, pick up the pace a little bit more like Star Wars lore tie-ins a little bit will be really cool. So I'm hoping that they do that with Season 2 and kind of just get us to the events of Rogue One and kind of see Andor's arc of, kind of being this guy who like runs away from the fight to kind of like finally join the fight. And then in Rogue One, where he like obviously gives his life for the rebellion to get the plans for the Death Star. Yeah, and something that I'm really excited to see is Cassian Andor finally, crossing paths with Mon Mothma, just because in the first season, they're very separated and everything. A lot of characters were very separate, a lot of storylines going on. So it'd be kind of cool to see those characters finally, meet up with each other, just because they in Rogue One they were in, obviously they were on Yavin 4. So it'd be cool to finally see them cross paths, see how they finally interact. It's kind of like Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen, finally meeting at the end of like Game of Thrones Season 6, where it's like finally we see the Song of Ice and Fire, come together and everything. So I'm hoping that we kind of see that with Cassian Andor and with Mon Mothma, just because they're such important characters, especially in Rogue One, and then obviously for Mon Mothma in Return of the Jedi. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that, and kind of see like what their interaction is going to be, how they're going to deal with each other, how they're going to finally kind of like gel together and work together to, make these plans to, steal the plans for the Death Star and move forward with like the rebellion, and how, the rebellion's going to finally form, and finally begin an alliance to take on the Empire. So I'm hoping we kind of get to see more of that. Yeah, I'm really excited for Season 2. Like I said before, I'm glad that they're not kind of stretch it along for another 4 seasons, but really kind of, compress it all into like 1 season. And, I don't mind the fact that it'll be another 12 episodes. I'm hoping that each episode will actually be, packed with story. Hopefully we'll actually get like hour-long episodes. We'll get like that breakneck speed and pace for these episodes, and that we'll finally have that, kind of epic conclusion that'll lead on to Rogue One, and then obviously we'll lead on to A New Hope. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I'm really excited. Like I said before, I enjoyed Season 1. I just wish it was kind of more compressed, more eventful. And it looks like they'll be doing that with Season 2 moving forward. It's going to be a little while away. I think it's going to be like 2024 when we get it. So, obviously it's like a huge production, and with a lot of production value, and they're cramming a lot into 1 season. So it'll be a while. So there'll be plenty of time for more speculation and everything. But yeah, we'll see. And I'm excited to see what happens of Cassian Andor, how we kind of see his arc throughout the season. So yeah, I'm excited. Hey, jumping in again. So for Andor Season 2, there's not really a lot more information that we know. All that's been announced is that Benjamin Bratt is actually going to be cast in the role, in an undisclosed role. Honestly, I have no idea who he could be. Maybe he'll be like a relative of Andor. Maybe, he was one of the kids who escaped when his planet was being attacked, and this would kind of be like them reuniting. Maybe they'll be like kind of like enemies, and they, slowly become friends in the end. Maybe, by the end of the season, when Benedict Brad's character like gets sacrificed, and that kind of fully brings Andor into the fight with the rebellion. Or maybe he can be one of the Imperials. We honestly don't know at this point, but I think Benedict Brad's a great actor. You know, I've seen him in a couple things. I haven't seen everything that he's been in, but you know, from what I know, you know, he can be like very dark and dramatic, but he can also have like, you know, funny side, funny lighter side, but I think he's probably going to play like more of like a darker dramatic role. So hopefully, like as the kind of months go on, we'll kind of get more confirmation, maybe at like Star Wars Celebration or like Comic-Con or whatever it might be. We'll get more confirmation with his role. But yeah, I'm excited that he's in the next season of Andor, and at least for now, you know, it's cool that we're getting more casting announcements, and hopefully we'll get more. We also got confirmation on a potential release date for Andor season 2. It looks like it might be August of 2024. So yeah, maybe we'll get a little bit sooner than we thought. Tony Gilroy said that they're trying to like film it, you know, as quickly as they can, and you know, so they can have it by their release date. So I think they're expected to be wrapping up this August, and then hopefully they'll be in a year post-production and then release it by August of 2024. So that's really exciting. They also talked about the format of the series, how there's going to be 12 episodes and there's going to be 4 3-episode arcs, and with each of the arcs is going to encapsulate 1 year of the Star Wars timeline. So that's going to be cool. You know, like I said previously, that they were originally wanting to have 4 more seasons, and each season was going to take place over a year, but it looks like they're going to kind of cram all that in one season and have 3 episodes encapsulate 1 year. So I think that could be cool. And you know, just based on the footage that was played at Star Wars Celebration, it looks like they're really going to kind of hit the ground running with, you know, characters meeting up with each other and, you know, kind of setting the stage for the events of Rogue One, and then eventually that will lead into A New Hope. So yeah, I'm actually really excited for it. And like I said, with Skeleton Crew and Acolyte, I'm really hoping that they show that trailer footage soon, and so that we can kind of like dissect it even further. But yeah, as for now, I'm really excited, and yeah, can't wait for season 2. All right, now we move on to Lando, another show. Like I said before, we don't know any information on really. Like we just got that one announcement at the Disney Investors Day like years ago of like how this show was going to be made, and like how Justin Simeon, who directed Dear White People, is going to be executive producer and head writer on it. But then after that, we've heard nothing from it. So we'll see what happens with that. I've read that like Kathleen Kennedy's trying to get Donald Glover back in the role as Lando. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, I think it'd be great, because I kind of said in my last video, you know, I thought Donald Glover was like the best part of Solo. You know, he definitely played Lando like the way that we all kind of expected him to be. So hopefully, you know, they can actually get him for the show. At this point, we don't know like how many episodes it's going to be, how many seasons it's going to be. Is it going to be a limited series? Yeah, we really don't know. I'm really hoping that it kind of explores more of like who Lando was before we see him in Empire Strikes Back, even before we see him in Solo. Kind of we get more background of like who he is. You know, maybe kind of give more context to L3, even though she wasn't really my favorite character, but kind of explain more of that relationship, kind of explain, you know, why he became a gambler and all that. Or like a post Return of the Jedi show where it shows like, you know, that transition, like what happened to Lando, like between after Return of the Jedi and then leading into his appearance in Rise of Skywalker. Because that was the question that we had when we saw, you know, Force Awakens and Last Jedi, is like, where's Lando? You know, and then we finally got him in Rise of Skywalker because, you know, unfortunately Carrie Fisher passed away. And, you know, they couldn't film any scenes with her. So obviously, you know, they killed off Han Solo, they killed off Luke Skywalker. So all we have left is Lando. And then we finally got Widget, the actor who played Widget Antilles, because, you know, he finally kind of got over his stubbornness about it and, you know, finally showed up, a little cameo in Rise of Skywalker. So yeah, that'd be cool to see that, kind of see like what he was up to during that. And then, you know, I know there's like a Lando comic out there. So maybe, you know, maybe there'll be adventures of like what happened in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, which would be really cool to see how he's kind of like joined into the fight. You know, how he eventually becomes, you know, General Calrissian, you know, see the different, you know, adventures and the different, you know, missions he's been on to kind of eventually get that position. Yeah, I think that could be cool. But yeah, other than that, we don't really have any information about that. We just had, you know, the announcement, the title, obviously Lando, and then, you know, Justin Simeon being the creator of that. Hopefully it'll be good, and hopefully we'll kind of get more information on it as the years goes on, and, you know, we'll actually get a release date and some footage and some production photos and stuff. So yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. All right, and then we move on to A Droid Story, and kind of like what I was saying with Lando, like this is another title that was announced at the Disney Investors Day, and then we've heard nothing ever since then. But apparently it's supposed to be the epic journey of C-3PO and R2-D2 kind of leading this new character into the whole Star Wars story. I think it's just supposed to be a film, which totally makes sense. It's supposed to be kind of like the interconnectivity of like animation and visual effects. So I think that would be cool to see like a cool animated version of R2-D2 and C-3PO, since we kind of got that in, Clone Wars, the 2D versions of them, and like the Clone Wars micro series. So it'd be cool to see like more like a CG animated version of those characters, kind of like in a full feature. We got the Droid show, back in the 80s, the 2D version, which was a very cheesy show, but it was the 80s. What can they do? So maybe something that's kind of like in the vein of that. I have no idea who this new character is going to be. Are they going to be human? Are they going to be aliens? Are they going to be a droid? We don't know. It's just going to be a new character, maybe a new like Force user character, a new Jedi. Would be cool, maybe someone who joins the rebellion later on. That's another thing. We don't know what the timeline is going to be for this movie, where it takes place, so we really have no context. Or it could just be its own separate thing. So we'll see. Maybe it'll be like a post secret trilogy show or something. So now we can finally introduce a new character. Or maybe it can be something in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, just because there's that 19-year gap where we don't really know what the droids were doing at that time. I'm sure there's like plenty of books and comics and video games that explain it, but to have something that's actually canon would be really cool. And then maybe they'll pop up in season 4 of like The Mandalorian, or any of those shows moving forward, like Ahsoka if that gets to season 2, or Skeleton Crew if that gets to season 2. But like I said, Lando, we have no idea anything about this story. We just know the title and then like the premise, like the log line for it. So we'll see. Hey, just jumping in again. So for the final announcement, we finally got confirmation that there's going to be 3 upcoming Star Wars movies. There's going to be one by James Mangold, and it's going to be about the Dawn of the Jedi. There's going to be another one by Dave Filoni. It's going to be kind of like the wrap up of this kind of crossover between Mandalorian season 3, Ahsoka, and Skeleton Crew. Kind of like what I was theorizing before about there being a crossover event. So it looks like this movie is going to be that answer to that. And the third one is from Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, and it's going to be set after the events of Rise of Skywalker, and it's going to be about the character of Rey rebuilding the Jedi Order. So I guess my theories beforehand were wrong. It looks like Daisy Ridley is going to come back for another Star Wars movie. Like overall, like I'm really excited that, kind of like what I was kind of complaining about earlier, is that Lucasfilm doesn't really have a plan of like what they want to do with upcoming Star Wars movies. So I'm glad that they finally have a plan. They finally have announcements for what they're going to be doing. I'm glad that they're going to kind of be setting them in different eras of the Star Wars universe, like past, present, and future. So I'm really, really excited for it. There's not really too much we know about like what the story is going to be, but just based on these filmmakers, I think they're going to be really good. James Mangold is already in kind of like the Lucasfilm camp directing Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and then obviously Dave Filoni. I'll sing all the praises about Dave Filoni all the time. Dave Filoni actually confirmed that we're getting a Tales of the Jedi season 2 and a Bad Batch season 3, so I'm actually really excited for those. I loved Tales of the Jedi season 1, so I'm glad we're getting another one of those. And then Bad Batch season 3, I mean, that ending for season 2 was just very emotional and had a huge cliffhanger, so I'm glad that we're getting a season 3 to just kind of wrap things up. So my theories were hopefully correct of Dave Filoni slowly but surely kind of gaining power within Lucasfilm, and maybe he'll take over as new president, but we'll see. But yeah, definitely grateful for Dave Filoni and all the work that he's doing for the future of Star Wars. Mandalorian is his baby along with Jon Favreau, and then obviously Ahsoka is his baby because he co-created it with George Lucas, and I'm sure Skeleton Crew is going to be amazing. So seeing that kind of crossover event in this movie is going to be really, really cool. So I'm hoping that we get that soon. And this whole kind of like post Rise of Skywalker era movie could be really, really cool. Me and obviously a lot of other people weren't the biggest fans of Rise of Skywalker, but I think setting it, sometime after those events, I think it could be really, really cool. I think Daisy Ridley is an amazing actor, and obviously she must have had some kind of resolution with Disney, in order to come back. But yeah, overall, I'm excited for more Star Wars movies. I'm excited for these filmmakers, and now I have hope for the Star Wars universe, for the movies moving forward, and just fingers crossed, hopefully they're good. But I think with these filmmakers in mind, I think it really can be. So yeah, we'll see how they go. We don't have confirmation of when they'll be released, but I think it's probably gonna be like sometime in like 2025 or something. So we'll see when it happens. But yeah, overall, I'm really excited, and yeah, can't wait. All right, now we kind of get into the unspecified projects, the projects that have been announced, but we haven't really heard too much from it. We just kind of hear rumors and stuff about it, or the projects that like a director or writer's been announced for it, but we have no idea what the title or the premise or the storyline is going to be. So this will be an interesting section. So I'll just kind of talk about kind of like my theories of like what I hope to see with these different movies and TV shows, and yeah, we'll see what happens with them in the future. So the first one up is the Untitled Taika Waititi film, and I know this has been in development for several years, and Taika Waititi is obviously a very busy man with Marvel and with all those kind of independent projects and everything. So we'll see whenever he gets to it. I was reading a report that he's still trying to find the story and everything. He hasn't really started writing the full script. There are like reports like this is going to come out like right after Rogue Squadron, but then Rogue Squadron got pushed to the side of the Disney movie slate, which is kind of a shame because they had this big announcement at the, like I said before, with like the Disney Investors Day. They had Patty Jenkins talking about her grandfather being like a fighter pilot, how she wanted to create the best fighter pilot movie of like all time, and we see her in the cockpit of the X-Wing, and it just looked amazing. But then obviously that got shelved just because the failure of Solo. They decided to just kind of put like a pause on the Disney Star Wars films and then kind of focus more on the TV shows and everything like that. So I mean, I guess there's like pros and cons. I mean, pros is that they kind of learn from their mistakes, and they're kind of really trying to focus on having like a writer's room and actually having a plan, plan things out in advance and everything. So they just kind of had to learn the hard way, which is kind of unfortunate. And the cons is that all these different projects and movies and stuff that we were really excited about been canned. So we'll see what happens with the future of all these different movies and shows. But anyway, back to Taika Waititi. I know he was being interviewed, him and Kathleen Kennedy, and now they kind of want to move away from the Skywalker saga for obvious reasons. And they kind of want to introduce like new characters, new planets, new storylines, which I think is like a really, really good, because I think the problem with a lot of these like new Star Wars movies and shows that kind of tie into all these legacy characters is that we as fans, we have this obviously have a connection to these characters, and when they're not done right, it's just we get upset. And or like like I'm thinking about like Obi-Wan, for example, where you have this potential of like having this amazing, incredible Obi-Wan focused show with Darth Vader / Anakin as this main antagonist, but then you're just like, no, let's have it be about Reva and everything, have our little Disney agenda and everything, kind of hijack the show. Which, it's like a Trojan horse where you're like the outside, it's going to be about Obi-Wan, but on the inside, it's really about Reva. And, instead of just like, let's just have our own, Reva show, let's just have her, hijack Obi-Wan show and then, have it kind of be disguised as Obi-Wan show, but really it's about Reva, which, if you want to hear my thoughts about Obi-Wan, you can just go back to my last video. Or like, Book of Boba Fett, where you kind of hype him up as this, amazing character that we had in the episode of Mando Season 2, where he's like this incredible, gunslinging gangster and whatnot, taking out Bib Fortuna and sitting on the throne. But then you just kind of, he's got to be, redeemed in a way. He can't be too dark. He's got to be this honorable leader, and he's got to get back to his Bacta tank and all this stuff. Or it's just like, oh, come on, you hyped him up to be this amazing character in that Mando Season 2 episode, and then you just kind of make him, a wimp in a way. So yeah, I think, moving forward, I think Disney really just needs to take on new characters. Either take on new characters or have Dave Filoni shepherd all these legacy characters, which it looks like he's doing with Ahsoka and everything, just because I feel like out of all the creators at Disney, with the exception of Jon Favreau, he's the one who like really cares about the vision that George Lucas set out with Star Wars. He really wants to shepherd these characters in this storyline and, have it be consistent with what George set out with those first 6 movies and everything. And, he was obviously an apprentice to George Lucas when he was working at Lucasfilm and, working on the Clone Wars and, developing, that whole storyline and things like that. He helped co-create Ahsoka with George Lucas. So obviously he's going to treat Ahsoka with care with this live action series. But as far as like, these other shows, like Obi-Wan and Book of Boba Fett, they've just been kind of hit or miss, like Andor is different just because he's not really a legacy character. So they can kind of do what they want with him because we kind of know where he ends up. But yeah, as far as these characters that we know and love, they Disney just hasn't really been treating them with respect. And you can kind of see with like Last Jedi with Mark Hamill. You can see all those videos of like how Mark Hamill warned us about the Last Jedi and like how obviously he's having like this terrible time with like how Rian Johnson treated Luke Skywalker in those movies. And the proof is in the pudding, of how the fans reacted, and became the most divisive Star Wars movie of all time. But anyway, as far as like Taika Waititi, I think moving away from the Skywalker saga and telling new stories is like a good call. I'm a big Taika Waititi fan. I wasn't the biggest fan of Thor: Love and Thunder, but I think just because he kind of stayed in the Marvel sandbox a little bit too long. He did great with Thor Ragnarok. That's like my favorite Thor movie. But as far as like staying within one kind of franchise, I think, was kind of like a detriment to him. So maybe, he kind of felt that pressure to, I gotta give fans what they love from Thor Ragnarok and just double down and just do the same thing with Thor Love and Thunder, and instead of like moving the story forward. If you want to see my thoughts on Thor Love and Thunder, you can go to my Marvel videos for that. But yeah, I think he's an incredible filmmaker. He's like a 2-time Academy Award nominee, and an Academy Award winner for for Jojo Rabbit. So obviously he can make a great movie. And then he directed the season finale of Mandalorian season 1, which was incredible. So if you just kind of give him the freedom to do his version of like a Star Wars movie and everything that's not kind of shackled by you got to have all these legacy characters, you got to involve the Skywalkers, just have him have an incredible Taika Waititi Star Wars film. I think it'd be good. So we'll see what happens with that. I know it's still a little ways away, because he's busy with all of his other projects. So we'll see what happens with that. Once we get production stills and like a first teaser and maybe like his own panel where he's actually talking about it and we have casting announcements, then I'll get a little bit more excited. But for now, it's kind of more theoretical. So we'll see what happens with that. Hey, jumping in again. So for the Untitled Taika Waititi project, the only real update with that is that Taika Waititi is planning on putting himself in the movie, which totally makes sense because he's literally in every one of his movies. Like What We Do in the Shadows, Hunt for the Little People, he has a small role. Thor Ragnarok, he plays Korg. Jojo Rabbit, he plays Hitler. So yeah, I think it could be pretty cool having him in the Star Wars galaxy. Like maybe he'll do like an IG-11 movie or something, since that was his character in Mandalorian. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, there's really no information with it. It's probably going to be a while until we actually get the movie, so we'll see. But yeah, that's really the only update with that. But yeah, we can get back into the video. All right, now we'll move on to the Rian Johnson trilogy. When he was making Last Jedi, apparently, Kathleen Kennedy was so happy with Rian Johnson with the way that things were going with Last Jedi that she just gave him a whole trilogy before Last Jedi even came out, and then, like I said before, it became the most divisive Star Wars film of all time. After all that, all the reviews went down. They kind of put that to the side. But I guess technically it's still in development, but now Rian Johnson's busy with the Knives Out trilogy. The report said that he's gonna finish off the Knives Out series with like another film at least, and then start work on at least part 1 of the trilogy, just because I don't think he's going to do a whole trilogy. And yeah, speaking of which, Kathleen Kennedy has kind of announced that they're not going to announce trilogies, way off in advance. They're just going to try to focus on just making one good movie, and then if it does well, then announce maybe like a second or third one. But anyway, yeah, with Rian, he's going to be writing and directing apparently part 1 after he's done with the Knives Out trilogy, which yeah, I think it's like a good idea. I mean, like I love Knives Out. Like the first one is like one of my favorite movies of all time. So even if he doesn't do Star Wars ever again, which I won't be sad about, and just decides to focus on Knives Out and then Knives Out The Last Onion, if he just wants to stay in his Knives Out universe, like I would be totally fine with that. And maybe if he wants to do like the story and executive produce his whole Star Wars trilogy, or at least the first part of the series, then I'm totally fine with that. But yeah, we'll see. Like I keep saying before, we have no idea like what he's wanting to do, but kind of based on what Kathleen Kennedy said before, like she wants to kind of be outside the Skywalker saga, which I think is a good idea. Kind of like what I was saying before with my problems with Last Jedi, like Ryan's treatment of Luke Skywalker and Mark Hamill. I think it's good if he kind of has a Star Wars movie that's kind of away from the Skywalker saga and kind of makes his own story, because he can obviously make a great movie. I haven't seen Brothers Bloom, but I've seen Brick and I've seen Looper and obviously Knives Out. And he can make like a great, like sci-fi movie like Looper. I thought was pretty good. The ending was like I still it's kind of iffy on, but I think like the movie itself was like really, really good. So yeah, I think if you can make just like a really just good Star Wars self-contained movie, and if it leads into a trilogy, if it's good, then I'll be excited for it. But for now, we'll see what happens after he's done with his Knives Out series. And the final announcement we have is the Shawn Levy film, which I'm actually really excited for. Like obviously what I keep saying before of we have no idea what he's going to be doing for the story or what era he's going to set it in. But I mean, I think it'd be cool. Obviously his filmography is great. Just the past couple projects he's done, he's going to be doing like Deadpool 3, he's going to be doing like the final episodes of Stranger Things, he's probably going to be doing like a Free Guy sequel. So I think this could be like just a really fun project just based on what he's done. Adam Project, he produced like Arrival. I think this is going to just be like a really just fun movie, with some some dark elements, maybe some kind of twisted humor, a lot of action. So yeah, I'm really excited to see, what he does with it. Obviously he's a big Star Wars fan and just an incredible filmmaker. I'm just thinking about episode 4 of Stranger Things that I've watched, a couple months ago, where, you laugh at one moment, then you cry another moment, then you're kind of in awe in another moment. So yeah, I'm really excited for it. Just based on his filmography and everything, I feel like if he's leaning more towards Ryan Reynolds films that he does, he's probably gonna have like a protagonist who's, maybe like, kind of goofy, kind of charming, kind of like a Han Solo type or something. And, he kind of gets wrapped up into this adventure, that's bigger than him, and he doesn't really know how to handle it. Maybe it'll kind of be like, how Chris Pratt in Guardians of the Galaxy or something can kind of be like that, something more for like, like an older audience or something, something like that's like fun, something that's, action packed, something that doesn't take itself too seriously. It could have its like dark moments and stuff, dark, scary moments. But yeah, I think whatever he has planned, I'm excited for. He's like an amazing filmmaker. Everything he's done. He's like the it guy in Hollywood right now as far as like the movies and TV shows that he's kind of producing and directing and everything. So yeah, why not add a Star Wars project onto your list? So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Again, this is all kind of speculation. I have no idea what's going to happen with it. It's definitely going to be a while because he still has to finish up Deadpool 3 and Stranger Things 5 and then Free Guy 2 if he ever does that. So it's probably going to be a while till we see it, but whenever he does decide to go in production for, I'm going to be here for it, and maybe there'll be like a Ryan Reynolds cameo or something. That'll be fun seeing him in Star Wars since he's already in Deadpool with Marvel. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, and I'm excited for it. Yeah, so to sort of wrap all this up, I've been talking a lot longer than I thought I would, but yeah, overall, I think the future of Disney Star Wars is, looking bright. I'm glad that they have, a plan. I'm glad they kind of, took a step back from the movies for a little bit and kind of reassessed what they're wanting to do with them, and they're kind of moving forward like on a good note. I'm glad that Dave Filoni is kind of slowly but surely kind of increasing his power within Lucasfilm a little bit, being the showrunner of Ahsoka, and then having this kind of crossover event with Mando Season 3 and with Skeleton Crew. I'm excited to see all that. And then, as far as like all like the new movies and the new TV shows, I'm glad they're kind of, at least for the TV shows, they're kind of centering them around like, the High Republic. They're kind of exploring that storyline and not having really dealing with like the legacy characters, just kind of doing something completely new, kind of giving these writers, directors like creative freedom of like what they want to do. So I'm excited to see what they decide to do with that. I'm glad that they have like different audiences. They have like more like adult audiences, they have like teenage audiences, they have like little kid audiences, kind of bring in all these kind of like ages of Star Wars fans and kind of bring this whole new generation of Star Wars fans up. So yeah, I think it'd be really cool. I'm glad that they're having like these filmmakers who are not only Star Wars fans but are also incredible filmmakers just in general when it comes to like writing, directing, producing. So yeah, I think it'd be really good. I'm not sure how long Kathleen Kennedy is going to stay at Lucasfilm, but as far as now, I think she really set the table for where it could go. If she does decide to go off and retire and maybe go on another studio, then at least she kind of left Lucasfilm like in a good place. And with like Bob Iger back as CEO, like maybe he'll kind of like shepherd that a little bit more, and hopefully find a successor after he goes off, and then like they can kind of watch over Lucasfilm, and kind of have it stick to what George Lucas originally intended when he sold it off to Disney, to kind of like make the stories hopeful, make the stories inspiring, and have everything kind of be consistent and kind of treat the characters with respect, because that's what we as fans really just want to see. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with it, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If you got to the end, I know I talked way more than I thought I was going to do, but yeah, I'm just just excited about the future of Star Wars and where it could end up. If you ever want to see like more of these in the future, just leave a comment below of like what movies or series or franchise you want me to take on, and I'll see what I can do with that. But yeah, in the meantime, give this video a like and subscribe for more videos, and may the Force be with you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.